Welcome to the Matt Phillips Podcast. I am Matt Phillips, your sales leadership coach, mental toughness expert, and founder of Matt Phillips Coaching. We help sales managers and leaders make more money, save time, and become kick-ass leaders of their sales teams. And that's what we're here to talk about on this podcast. We are here to give you the tools and tactics to build a well-oiled sales machine and teach you the mental toughness skills so you can show up confident, focused, emotionally in control, and ready to energize your team. It's time to talk sales leadership and mental toughness. Let's get into today's episode. Well, hello, my fellow procrastinators. It is Matt Phillips back with you on today's episode. And you guessed it, we are here to talk about procrastination. You know, those things that you don't really want to do, so you just keep pushing off day after day after day. And then, that stuff starts smelling kind of funky because it's been out there kind of rotting for maybe way too long, like months and months or years and years. And I'm here to tell you there is hope to take down this disease of procrastination that is capturing the world. And while that's way too heavy, there is something we can do about procrastination. And this topic, I'm telling you, I talk about all the time with my clients. And it's something that everyone in the world deals with. I have yet to meet a person who doesn't at least have that inclination, that desire to push something off and procrastinate on something they know they should be doing. It's something that as a business owner, I fight because, listen, all of us, we have stuff coming at us left and right. We all have this big to-do list. We've all got lots of different priorities we're trying to accomplish, lots of calls we need to make, lots of outreaches that are still to be done. And yet, every single day, we have choices that sit there in front of us. We have that choice to either do it or not, to push it off or to do it right now. And it's not only work, it's stuff at home. Right? We procrastinate on working out. We procrastinate on taking out the garbage. We procrastinate on, planting the flowers or mowing the lawn. You can get a glimpse into my world, obviously, right now, right? But we can procrastinate stuff there. And it's also the work stuff, right? If I know I should do this, but then we don't. Actually, this morning, I was talking about with one of my clients about something that on paper seemed relatively simple, but she just kept pushing off for days and days at a time. And she actually shared a story with me where she actively made a different decision than she had before and was blown away at the results of it. And so there's one story I want to share with you, then I'll share the conversation from this morning. But maybe you've had this situation before. And one of the areas we teach, you've heard about before, is building up people's leadership philosophy. So there's this methodology that we walk people through to get to the end result, which is that philosophy. And one of the first kind of handout we have you take you through is answering a bunch of questions. And then we have this section on attributes, like pick out 5 attributes and kind of why they're important to you, things like that. And I was talking with this one client, this is, 9 months ago. And we were supposed to meet for our one-on-one, coaching call. And she's like, hey, I don't have that part done yet. I'm like, okay. So we got on the coaching call, talked about other things. And I'm like, can you get this done by next week? And so we met the next week and lo and behold, she had it done. But she shared the story with me. She goes, yeah, I got to that attribute part. And I looked and it was like Thursday. And she's like, I just don't feel like doing this now. This looks really intense and it's going to take forever. She said, so I got busy the rest of the week. And on Sunday, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't show up Monday and disappoint Matt and not have this done again. And so she said, I carved out 2 hours on Sunday, right? Time away from family, but she blocked off 2 hours on Sunday to finish this one part of attributes. And she wasn't upset by it. She was kind of like, I don't feel like doing this on a Sunday, right? Thus procrastination. But she dedicated to it because she knew we had to talk about it. She goes, Matt, it took me 15 minutes. I was like, yeah, I know. Right? Because I had that perspective. So the key point, which I was blown away by, when you think about procrastinating, and this is not in every case, I know, but a lot of the things that we push off, one of the things is it really doesn't take that much time when you boil it down, right? And the key point here is to watch the story that you're telling yourself that's going on in between your ears based on the thing that you need to work on. So sometimes when we see that thing, the story begins and we start making stuff up, right? Of how, I have to look at this one thing and, oh, it's going to take a while because I got to research this and look at that. And oh my gosh, that's going to take time. That's going to take time. I mean, this is going to take hours. By the time that you're done telling yourself that story, this thing is going to take hours. It's going to be so overwhelming. Like, you've been there? Like, I've been there. I've made up lots of different stories about why I don't want to do certain things. And then maybe you've had that same experience as that client I just told you about, where when you actually sat down to do it, you're like, oh my gosh, like it took no time at all. I'm not saying 15 minutes. Sometimes it could be 5 minutes. Sometimes it could be half hour. Maybe it's a little bit longer, but it takes less time than you think. And sometimes it's less complex than you think. And I find this fascinating because what we have to do is pay attention to the lies that we're making up. Because sometimes we don't know the data behind it. Like, we don't know the true information. And so it's, again, deciding of like, wait a minute, like, I don't know if that story is true. Right? This is the choice we need to make. Like, it's questioning like the story. I don't know if this story is true, so I'm going to choose to actually do it, sit down and do the thing, and I'm going to see if that story is true or not. I know sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. But it's actually that active questioning of the fake story you've made up anyway, because it's all false, right? In my business, I still do some of the like accounting stuff, like tax stuff, right? And I have a firm that does all like the accounting entries and all the daily accounting stuff, but I still overlook the taxes for my business. And I will tell you, I sit down sometimes and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I really don't feel like doing this, and got to make estimated tax payments and all this stuff, and got to do this calculation. And then every single time I make a choice not to push it off, I sit down, and it always takes less time than I think. Always less time than I think. And here's the beauty of it. This is what my client I told you about a little earlier with the attribute section. She said, my goodness, it took only 15 minutes, Matt, and I felt so good when I got it done. I know you've had that experience. So when I get done with my taxes, right, and I'm looking at my estimates, I'm like, oh man, we're good to go here. I feel good about myself because I've just accomplished something. I have overcome this mountain of a story that I've made up in my head, because the truth is it's sometimes just a molehill. And we need to make sure we challenge the mountain that we've put in front of ourselves and say, I don't know if that's true. So maybe for you today, you need to look at your to-do list and look at those things that you've been pushing off and challenge the story. Because I bet they don't take as long as you think. And I bet you're going to feel amazing after you actually accomplish those different things. Another key part of kind of procrastination I want to bring up to you today has to do with remembering the past. And I've alluded to it in what I just told you, but when I was talking with my client this morning, this point came up around remembering the past. And she was super happy to share with me these couple things that she had knocked off. And she was like, Matt, I've been pushing this off for, a couple months. Like, my boss has been wanting to see this for a couple months. And finally I sat down and said, I'm going to get this done. No more procrastination. Let's knock it out. And it took her less time than she thought. And then she's like, oh my goodness, I feel good about myself. So good that I want to share it with Matt on our coaching call today. And I was super happy to hear it because I've lived that world, right? I fight that same thing that you all fight. So I was super happy to share in that excitement with her, and her boss was thrilled as well to get this thing finally over across the finish line. But we talked about this of like, how quickly do we forget where we've procrastinated before and then felt good and knocked it out and took less time? Like, we forget about those things. And again, we get back to creating the story. So it's remembering like, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I thought about this last week. It was going to take forever. And then I sat down and did it and I knocked it out. And it's remembering these things, right? This is true of, we're building confidence in ourselves and dealing with adversity in life outside of procrastination. The first step is remembering the past. You've done it before, you can do it again. So I'm sure you've procrastinated on items, you sat down, you knocked them out. Well, If you did it back then, you can do it now, but you can do it quicker. You can not let it delay days, weeks, months. You can let it delay maybe just a few minutes or maybe a few hours and knock it out. Remember, when we talk about this concept of mental toughness, right? Of having a strong mindset, remember, all we're doing is closing a time gap from getting off track to getting back on, right? So some things are going to derail us. Procrastination is one of them. I don't feel like doing this, right? That's going to derail us. Well, maybe instead of being derailed for 5 days, maybe that becomes 5 hours. And then maybe it becomes 5 minutes over time, right? As we train ourselves, as we challenge the story, as we remember the past and take action upon the things that we know we should do that benefit us personally and the company and our team, and we knock those things out, amazing things happen. It's like they say, like going to the gym is, for some people, is an extremely painful thing. I've been there also. Right? So we procrastinate, we push it off. But I don't think I've really met anyone who, when they challenge the story and they get up anyway and put their shoes on anyway and get in the car and drive to the gym anyway, I don't think I've ever met anyone who, after they're done with that workout, has been like, yeah, that was just a waste of time. That was a waste of time. No, because your body and mind are engaged differently, right? You never regret a workout. Now, maybe it was super hard. I get that, but you never regret going to the gym once you get there. The battle's getting to the gym. The battle is sitting down with those things that you know you should be doing and deciding that you're going to do it today, that you're going to challenge the story, say no more. Let me get to the facts about what is really involved in this thing that I know I should be doing, and go crank away on it. Again, maybe it's that personal side. Maybe it's that professional side. Maybe it's making phone calls for sales. Maybe it's calling your boss back, talk about a deal. I don't know what it is for you, but I want you to look at what you have on your plate and have that honest assessment of like, where am I procrastinating or not? Why am I procrastinating? What story am I telling myself? And I want you to choose to go get the actual facts, the real story that lies in front of you. So as we talk always, we're about big into building momentum. One of the tools that we utilize in our program is called the Momentum Journal. Where's a copy of it? It's right here for those of you who are actually looking on the video right now. Sorry for you podcast listeners, but the Momentum Journal. So pick one thing on your list that you know you need to be doing and you're procrastinating on, and knock it out. Just one thing per week. And you'll watch your to-do list shrink. You'll watch your results increase. You'll have a heck of a lot more fun along the way with a lot less stress. So I'm saying goodbye to no more procrastinators listening on this podcast today, because we're going to make different decisions. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you as always, and can't wait to see you on the next episode. Thank you for joining us today on the Matt Phillips Podcast. If you are like us, we know that you are here to do great things, to become the sales leader that makes things happen and drives big-time sales results. We know you have that big vision, and we are here to help get you where you want to go. We're here to help you develop that unstoppable, rock-solid leadership skill set and help you train to master the one true differentiator: mental toughness. We would love to be part of your journey. So if you are ready, head over to mattphillipscoaching.com and check out the ways that we can help. As always, please share this episode and make sure you subscribe by clicking the button below. Thank you again. And now, go crush the day.